Fox 17 is covering changes coming to the state's no-fault auto laws. Tonight, the latest in a series of reports by our own Michael Martin.
Yeah, today speaking with survivors of catastrophic car crashes that fear they could lose access to the quality care they need when their next portion of the auto reform takes effect. Michael?
Yeah, Derek, Doug, for thousands of families across the state, what happens to the medical care they so badly need after this next portion of the Auto Reform Act takes effect on July 2nd is, well, frankly, up in the air. With changes coming to just how much insurance companies will reimburse care providers, it could mean that these survivors are left simply without care.
In a Kent County home on 72nd Street, a mom worries about her son. Aaron Castle is 40 years old now, requires 24/7 in-home care after a car crash all the way back in 1994 left him with substantial injuries.
We knew right away that he was going to need care at home.
His mom, Renee Westbrook, faces the unavoidable anxieties that come along with a loved one being catastrophically injured.
That's a good one.
But despite her exhaustive efforts to squeeze more joy and triumph into her now disabled son's life, she's never had to worry about someone being there to care for him.
His brain can't control his body temperature.
The family had unlimited personal injury protection when Aaron was injured. Up until July of 2020, all drivers in Michigan were required to buy unlimited PIP. Expensive, but it came with the promise that if you were ever injured in a car crash, your care would be covered for life.
The security that we've had is at risk of being yanked out, and his whole world will be affected.
In May of 2019, Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed the no-fault auto reform into law. The intent behind it is good. Michigan has for many years now been the most expensive state in the country to purchase auto insurance.
Car insurance rates in Michigan are up about 14% since 2011, which is obviously outpaces inflation.
The no-fault auto reform bill is meant to fix that, giving Michiganders more options when it comes time to buy a policy. Insurance companies will now have to offer these lesser amounts of personal injury protection that you can select.
Our action today means that Michigan families will soon have the opportunity to realize real, measurable, and significant savings on their car insurance bills.
But in a subsection of the bill is a change set to take effect come July that has families across the state terrified.
If you have a seriously injured person who depends upon and receives certain health services that are not compensable under the federal Medicare law, then the provider of those services will have reimbursement slashed by 45%.
As part of these new fee schedules, as they're referred to, insurance companies will now only have to reimburse post-acute care providers 55% of what they were paying in January of 2019 when the act was first signed into law.
So politically, they weren't able to get rid of the unlimited lifetime benefits because they know that consumers are going to continue to choose those benefits. So what they did instead was basically make those benefits worthless.
According to Tom Judd, board president of Michigan's Brain Injury Provider Council, this change could cause more than 6,000 people throughout the state to lose access to care they desperately need and eliminate around 4,500 jobs.
I was able to not only get my college degree, but I went on to graduate school.
Left quadriplegic from her chest down after a crash when she was 16, the cuts could mean Emily Gladstone loses access to the care that has allowed her to become a thriving, contributing member of society following her accident, now working at a Grand Rapids school.
But the reality of the situation is that I still have care needs on a day-to-day basis.
While insurance will still have to reimburse in-home care costs for a policyholder's lifetime,
I personally may not have access because of a number of the home care agencies will not be able to continue to function.
The massive slash in just how much they will reimburse will likely devastate small care providers like NeuroCare Health in Essexville, owned by Nick Long.
To be honest, that's a business ender for us.
Long started the company after he injured his spinal cord in a crash himself.
We'll continue after July as long as we can, but mostly because we kind of have to. The clients that we serve absolutely can't be by themselves.
Of course, not everybody receives post-acute care via a care provider like NeuroCare. Michigan's system also allows family members to become designated caregivers and would pay them as such. A setup that's worked for people like Diane Mills Gutierrez, who was paralyzed after she and her husband Jesse were in a crash in July 2016.
Nobody wants to be in a catastrophic accident and end up with a brain injury or a spinal cord injury or amputation or any other kind of catastrophic injury. But we knew that insurance was there for us if we needed it.
Right now, Jesse provides around 90 hours of care every week, the other hours supplemented by a local care provider. But yet another issue under the new law, insurance companies will only allow family members to be paid for up to 56 hours of care a week.
That's a serious blow to us and our family income. It's very frustrating that so many of the legislators are saying, let's just wait.
Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey said in a statement to Fox 17, for the first time in 7 years, Michigan is not the most expensive place in the country for auto insurance. We certainly must care for the most vulnerable among us, and we will look at taking up additional reforms that may be necessary when the plan goes fully into effect.
We wouldn't say, okay, if you're going to take off on an airplane, let's see if you can make it on 50% less gas to your destination. No one would board the plane.
In December, when Peg Campbell, who takes care of her sister Barbara Scowen, found out about the impending changes, she started a Facebook group, a gathering spot for those who will be affected, with a simple message for lawmakers.
We know what that wait and see is because it's happening now. Providers are having to shut their businesses down.
The group has launched several virtual protests and letter writing campaigns.
The fix that needs to happen that are in these legislative bills will not add cost to the system. They will not skyrocket prices.
Senate Bill 314 and House Bill 4486 are waiting to be voted on or moved out of the insurance committees they're each sitting in. Michigan Democratic Senator Curtis Hurdle, who introduced Senate Bill 314 and who also supported the no-fault auto reform, agrees that the time to act is now.
I don't think anyone intended that to happen when we passed this law. We should admit that we made a mistake and fix it. At the end of the day, we don't work for the insurance companies, we work for the people of Michigan. I believe in lower rates, I believe in choice, but I don't believe in hurting these families.
Yeah, so theoretically, the fix is sitting there right now, just waiting to be moved out of committee or taken to a vote. For now, though, lawmakers in charge refuse.
I think that there really is an understanding now that folks won't be able to get the care that they've been counting on.
The past several weeks have been a whirlwind of worry, confusion, and taking action for the thousands of families across Michigan who face the very real possibility of losing access to quality care come July when the next portion of the Auto No-Fault Reform Act takes effect.
People don't know what they're going to do. They're terrified. They go to bed with this in the pit of their stomach and they wake up with it there. They're scared to death.
For Maureen Howell, her husband, former state rep Jim Howell, and their son Sam, waiting to see what happens when it does is not an option.
We have people attend the Senate in the morning and the House chamber here in the afternoon because many of our legislature really are not well versed in what's going to happen.
She and a small rotating group of other survivors have traveled out to the state capitol a handful of times since May 4th. Her son Sam.
Out of no fault, I may have lived, but most likely not. And I certainly wouldn't have gotten back my life.
They're trying to convince lawmakers to act on two bills sitting in the state legislature that would prevent families like hers from losing access to critical medical care. House Bill 4486 and Senate Bill 314.
The bad actors continue to make a lot of money. The good actors are unable to survive.
State Rep Donna Lazinski held a virtual press conference last week with several other Democratic lawmakers about the bills and even came out to meet with Maureen and Sam on Tuesday of last week as they gathered outside the House chambers inside the Capitol.
This is not a Democratic or a Republican issue. This is a people issue, and there are Republicans that are working together with us as Democrats. What we need to do is get the will to get it through committee, on the floor, and to the governor's desk.
Sam asking the state rep to say a prayer with him.
I was giving her the power she needs to push.
This all begs the question, why not act now if the legislative support is there? Well, the bills rest in the hands of several state lawmakers like Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, who are adamant about waiting until after the bill takes effect. But for people like State Rep Doug Wozniak, who supported the reform bill himself, waiting just doesn't make sense.
There's reports all over the state of Michigan that companies are going to leave the state.
Wozniak introduced House Bill 4486 after realizing the potential disaster buried in the reform.
That's not a good thing. We've nurtured that industry for so long, and we're the best in the country.
What that could eventually mean for taxpayers is
if they're forced off of the PIP system, then where are they going to go? Medicaid, Medicare? And who pays for Medicaid or Medicare? You and I do.
And what about the original goal here of lowering insurance rates in Michigan?
The good news is, though, Michigan rates dropped a little bit, about 18% year over year from 2019 to 2020.
But as Nicole Buck from insurance comparison site The Zebra said, they attribute much of that drop in costs to the pandemic.
We do expect that car insurance prices will be lowered with the new legislative changes in Michigan, simply because it couldn't have got much higher than it was.
Aaron McDonough, the executive director of Michigan's Insurance Alliance, said in a statement to Fox 17 on May 26, the reforms are lowering rates for drivers across the state, bringing more competition into Michigan and encouraging tens of thousands of people to get car insurance again because they can finally afford it, all while ensuring drivers with unlimited lifetime medical benefits can still receive care. Fox 17 was supposed to speak with McDonough for this story, the Alliance telling us they were, quote, pulling together some data that should help clarify things, and then 6 days later saying they didn't have time to talk and hadn't yet been able to pull together these numbers. And so their position will, for now, remain somewhat unclear. McDonough's May 26 statement continues, sadly, special interests are resorting to scare tactics and using misinformation in an attempt to protect their golden goose and preserve their ability to overcharge and price gouge Michigan consumers. But advocates say the changes coming will devastate the companies not overcharging, while allowing those who were overbilling to stay afloat.
You know who's going to come out that is not going to have to shut their business? Those people who were really overbilling because they can take that 45% cut.
Will it mean that people like David St. Amant will no longer be able to work the jobs they have found and fought for?
David's prognosis after 2 weeks was, we really think you might want to just consider custodial care.
David and his mom, Linda, work at Jackson Field in Lansing, where the minor league Lansing Lugnuts baseball team plays.
For him to be doing this is just a miracle, and it's only because he's had access to good quality care.
All of these families paid into a system that promised them lifetime care. A lawsuit filed on behalf of several patients in a care facility questions the constitutionality of making such a change to the agreement.
We say it's an unconstitutional violation of the Contracts Clause in the Michigan Constitution to attempt to retroactively apply these reductions to people who bought their insurance policies years ago and who got injured years ago.
Attorney George Sinus says the lawsuit attacks both the slashed care reimbursement rates and the cut to how many hours family members can be paid as designated caregivers.
How can we, as a reasonable society, put people in a position where, under the no-fault law, they're forced to go buy these no-fault policies? They pay a premium. The policy at the time it's sold provides for certain particular benefits. Then government comes in and he reaches into that contract and he basically rewrites it.
The lawsuit has been filed in Ingham County Court, but will take time to make its way through the system. Though Sinus says they will take it all the way up to the state Supreme Court if they have to.
The key thing to good governance and good character is to stand up and say, you know what, we made a mistake there. We need to go in and fix it.
And as we've mentioned over and over, that fix is already sitting in our state legislature. Senate Bill 314.
The majority leader could either take it out of that committee or the insurance chairwoman, Lana Tice, could allow for a vote.
And House Bill 4486.
If we could put it up to a vote, I think we'd win. In the House and the Senate.
To people still terrified of what July will bring to their loved ones who need round-the-clock medical care, what should happen next is obvious.
We've tried to remain focused on this one technical fix, which the bills address.
I think there's going to be a lot of people that are just scrambling and lost and won't know where to turn.
Those left advocating for what feels like their own survival, desperate not just for empathy, but now for action.
I'm able to function in society and give back, and I love that. And I want to continue to do that.
If it was you or your family member or anyone that you cared about, you wouldn't want to see them without care. Please don't take our care away from us.
And now a little bit of update to this story here on Wednesday. This is a picture from just a few hours ago, earlier Wednesday. And that's Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, who apparently had time to talk to some advocates from the We Can't Wait group. Today, Maureen Howell, who we featured in our story, I just had a chance to speak to her about 15 minutes ago. She said she got a little bit of one-on-one time with Senate Majority Leader Shirkey, has some information that he requested. She says she will be back at the state capitol tomorrow. Now, we put together a web article of resources so you can learn about the changes coming to Auto No Fault yourself and how those changes could impact these families' access to quality care. For now, live in the studio, Michael Martin, Fox 17 News.
All right, Michael, thank you.